the morning with helping you create a listing presentation and go through my listing presentation with you, and then activity management, what you should be doing on a daily basis. We'll cover those in the morning. Then we'll break for lunch, and then in the afternoon, we're gonna be working on the computer. We'll be doing dot loop, so if you wanna bring your computer in, I can walk you through that. And then in the afternoon, or then at 2, Russ is gonna go through Moxie Works. Are you doing just the Moxie Works
Probably
one?
just Moxie Engage.
Moxie Engage. Okay, so one of our technologies that you can use to generate business and work through that. So afternoon's gonna be
Isn't that
more
just another CRM though? Just like
the Moxie
kind of like
Engage.
Sync, right? It's just a different version. It's just like
It does different things,
different
but
things, but it's the same.
It's the same
kind of same.
same
But
concept,
it's a
yeah.
CRM essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that will be tomorrow afternoon, and then Thursday, Russ is gonna start the morning with needs analysis, 1 and 2. That's probably his best class. Everyone really likes that one, it's good. Then break for lunch, and then in the afternoon, he'll talk about SOI. Okay,
That's the best club.
that's, yeah, so Thursday's a rush day. I'm not teaching on Thursday, so if you want like the best day to show up, it's Thursday. Actually, needs analysis and SOI will probably help you generate the most business after you build the foundations that we're talking about today. So, okay, any questions on that? All right, so company foundation, the reason we spend some time on this is when you really build a strong foundation, anything above that is easier to build. So like when you build a house, you build a really strong foundation, that house can stand for a really long time. If I'm gonna build a skyscraper and I decide that I'm just gonna do a slab, what's gonna happen eventually to that skyscraper?
Not gonna go well.
It's not gonna go well,
Yeah,
right?
Not a strong foundation.
You know, you've got little pins that will hold it, and the wind will blow it and it'll blow over, right? They've got to dig it really, really deep. So it's the same thing with success in general. So we'll talk a lot about your business and real estate throughout these next 3 days. But when we talk about the foundation, it can be looked at as just success in any area of your life. Okay? It doesn't necessarily have to be real estate specific. In fact, there's 3 areas that we'll kind of focus on. One is health, one is your relationships, and the other one is money. Okay, these 3 things play a big role into our daily life. Okay, everything that we do hinges on some form of this. And when one of those are not right, the way I look at this, and I'll use my artistic ability here, but have you ever sat on a 3-legged stool? That's my 3-legged stool.
It's good.
Okay,
Good, Jason.
you can see what it is, right?
Uh-huh.
3-legged stool, right? I want you to think of this as one of these legs is health, one of these is relationships, and one of these is money. If you're sitting on a 3-legged stool and one of those legs gets kicked out, what happens to you on the stool? You're gonna fall off the stool, right? It has to have all 3 things in order for you to stay grounded where you're at and not fall over. The same thing with these 3 things here. We call them the 3 pillars, the 3 stools, or step legs to the stool. If one of those is off, other areas of your life are gonna be off. So you might come into real estate and say, okay, I wanna make lots of money. And that's a good thing, but if your health is bad or your relationships are struggling, it's going to make it difficult to just focus on money. Does that make sense? So when you're looking at this whole process that we're gonna go through today and the foundation, I want you to really evaluate where you are in these areas because they'll affect each one of them. So let me give you an example. If you imagine a billionaire, he's got all the money he wants. He's got his own private island, plane, helicopter, and he's sitting out at his home outside, and he has the worst strep throat that you could ever imagine. What do you think is on his mind right then? Is it any of his possessions, any of his relationships, anything like that? No, it's what's on, the sickness is on his mind. So when one of these is really occupying our mind, it will affect the others because they're not right front center. And so the idea is that in some area of these is gonna be kind of off all the time. We're gonna kind of just wanna keep working with that. So if you're really off in one of these areas, it's going to affect the others, basically what we're looking at. Does that make sense? Okay, so if we get into the foundation, okay, the foundation, I put into a pyramid. And Ronnie, you and I have talked about this. So there's some of this is gonna be a review for you, but I hope that you can, for you, dive deeper into what this means for you, okay? So we call this, I put it in a pyramid. You'll hear it presented in different ways, just numbered. I like it in a pyramid because I feel like everything builds up on it, is how I think of it, okay? The first area of our pyramid is what we call a purpose, or why, or just passion. Okay? What is a purpose? Now that we have purpose, Russ is out. I'm out. It's like, we're not talking about purpose anymore. Okay, purpose, what is purpose?
Reason for why you're doing it.
Okay, I like that. Okay. Reason, why. Okay, what else?
I feel, well, are we still on purpose or why? Just any of them, just purpose particularly.
Do you see them different?
They're kind of similar, I mean, they're similar.
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay, so let's go into that. So what is the difference for you on these? If we're calling, I'm not saying you're wrong. I think it's great that you're thinking this way. Let's just dive deeper into this. Purpose and why. What do you see as different for you?
Well, the purpose for me comes more on a personal level, like what my purpose is for why I'm doing what I'm doing, or my job, or what it is for me personally that drives me. And then my why, it tends to be something separate that drives it, if that makes sense.
Okay,
So I have to have that motivation and purpose for me personally,
Mhm.
which is what that is.
Where does that drive from?
I mean, it's for me, my purpose of why I'm doing it. It's what I love. I mean, it's kind of goes with passion. It's my passion, and
Okay,
it creates purpose for me to do it personally.
so would it be fair to say that the reasons, the why in your life is driving your purpose?
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when I look at these two, I'm saying, I don't care which one you attach to. In fact, the why, I get this a lot. It's like, I just can't connect with a why. Like, I don't have this grand old, I'm gonna save the world feeling in my mind. Honestly, I just wanna get paid and pay my bills. Like, that's it. So why, I've also heard it as, it might not be a why. It could be a who. It could be a what. It could be a how. Like, all we're trying to do is connect to, one, what Ronnie said, reasons, but the purpose of why I do what I do on a daily basis. I'm going to wake up today. Why am I going to wake up today? What's the purpose of me waking up today? Why don't I just stay in bed all day long? Well, there's a reason that you do that. And it could be a why, like this is why I want to do it. It could be a who.
Right.
I'm doing this because this person is important. This is important to me. It's important to them. So I'm going to go. In real estate, I don't want to prospect. Prospecting's hard. I get rejected. It's not fun. Well, if I connect the dots between my family needs to eat and experience things, and my prospecting provides that, my purpose could be the who, could really just drive that home, okay? Or the what, what I'm actually doing. There's people who love the actual process of what they do. Like, I get up and, thinking of my art drawing, somebody who's an animator or something who just loves to just do that. That could be their drive. I just want to get up and I want to play my instrument. I want to get out and see the world. I want to Like I love working with my hands. I'm a contractor. I love putting things together. That could be the driving force. So when we look at this, we really want to dive deep into these reasons that get you motivated to move forward. If we don't attach to them, what happens is we see our life cycle kind of going, I'm motivated, I'm not motivated, I'm motivated, I'm not motivated. We kind of go back and forth where one day I feel good, so I'm doing stuff. The next day I don't feel good, so I'm not doing stuff. And when we really can attach these reasons and say, no, I really want to do this, then our daily activities become really just automatic. There's something that we're going to continually do. If you find yourself in a position where you're just like, I just don't feel like doing anything today. I don't feel like prospecting. I don't feel like going into the office. I would say, let's come back and revisit this part and say, what is it that's really driving me to do that? Okay. We'll talk next about goals, but one strategy that I look at is if I am struggling with figuring out this, there's usually one or two reasons why I struggle with it. One is I'm trying to make it too big. Okay, I'm trying to be like more noble, or like this is a grand cause that I'm doing, and I'm trying to make it so big that I'm just way overshooting the mark, and so I'm not really doing anything. And I've seen that with I had an agent come in and they said my reason for doing real estate is I want to help retire my parents. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good goal. Like they've been working their whole life and she wants to retire them. Well, as we dug deeper into it, we found out that one, her parents aren't that old, and she wasn't really sure if they wanted to retire yet. And she doesn't know how much they needed to retire. And if she didn't do it this year, it wouldn't be a big deal. Like it was almost like it's a great cause, but it wasn't a driving every day I'm going to go out and I'm going to work really hard because yes, I'm going to retire my parents tomorrow kind of a thing. But I think it's a noble like goal that she could have. It wasn't something that pushed her on a daily basis. Think about like with your health. There's a stat that says that if you survive your first heart attack, the chances of you having a second one drops almost 70%. Why do you think that is?
So you start caring, you start taking care of yourself and making sure it doesn't occur again, or doing everything in your power to make sure.
Yeah, so you have this scare, you have a heart attack, and all of a sudden the why gets really defined of like, no, I really want to live. I really want to be here. And so you naturally are like, okay, I'm not eating this kind of stuff anymore. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do this. And the driving force is I have evidence that I almost died with my health. So I'm now moving forward. Does that make sense? So when you haven't had that heart attack, you're thinking, oh, I can do whatever I want and it's not a big deal. But as soon as you get that defining why, and that could be defined by an experience you've had, it can be defined by something you grew up with, how you learned, your belief system, all of that can run into this. So all I want you to do for here is I want you to really define for you what that looks like. And then the easiest test for it is to say, does this help me get up in the morning? And if it doesn't, then let's revisit it. And don't say to yourself, oh, it's not a noble cause, or like, this is a really good thing. I should be more excited about this. Because in reality, once you connect with something that you really are passionate about, it will be an easy transition to do that. Does that make sense? Okay, any questions on purpose and why? Okay, so then we're going to move to the next area, which is goals, plan, and a schedule. Okay, a lot of times we'll mix purpose and goals as the same thing, okay? And they can have elements of the same thing, but they're not 100% the same thing. What this is this could be looked at as benchmarks getting you to your why, but a why could also be something that's not as defined as a goal could be. A goal, the way that I want you to look at goals is what I call SMART goals. Okay? SMART goals, this is an acronym for specific. Okay, so I know exactly what I want. I can define this, which goes to the next one, measurable. Okay, so if I'm saying I want to feel peace in my life and I want to feel calmness, that's going to be really hard to measure because everyone's going to be different on that. You could create some kind of measurement, but is that specific? Maybe, maybe not. That's where I see the link between the two. You have to really kind of mesh those. A is attainable. Okay. I totally spelled that wrong. Okay, attainable. Is it something in my life that I can actually see myself doing? Okay, there's this, in this arena of goals, there's this really fine line of if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. And if I set whatever goal I conceive I can achieve, that concept, right? Which is true, but you want to make sure that it's something that you can obtain in the time and the abilities you have right now. If I need other things to happen, it might not be my main focused goal right now. Does that make sense? Okay, the next one is relevant. Okay, is it relevant to what my life is like right now? So I have a goal in my life. Someday I would like to buy a sailboat and I'd like to sail around the world. I think that'd be really awesome to do that. It's specific. I know what I want to do. It's measurable. I can measure the distances that I'm going to go. Is it attainable? I believe that it's attainable. I'm in a position where I could, physically, I think I could do it. I mean, I believe I could do it. Relevant, this is where my problem comes in right now, okay? Well, I have 3 kids, 11-year-old, 13-year-old, and 15-year-old. I already asked them if they would want to move to New Zealand, and I got vetoed. We went to New Zealand a couple of years ago, and I said, I think I could move here, let's just move here. And I was serious.
And they said no.
And they vetoed me. You know, once you get into high school, they're more important than your parents are more important. So, but relevant. So if I chose to do that goal right now, I would probably have to sacrifice a lot more than I really want to. It's not, like, yes, it's a goal of mine, but it's also not higher priority than making sure my kids get what they want and they're doing what they need to do, and being available, take care of my mom, doing all the things I need to do. It's not relevant for me right at the moment. So therefore that goal is not necessarily not a goal of mine, but it's not a focused goal for me right at the moment. Okay? And then the last one is time, putting a time on it. Okay? If we just have a goal that's just open-ended, what we find is that you don't take the necessary steps to move you closer to it in the business. So when in real estate, if I'm looking at this, I'm going to say, I want you to come up with a specific transaction income goal for the next year, something you want to hit for the next year. When you do that, it's going to be specific, okay? Can you measure your income goal? Okay, is it obtainable? How do I know if it's attainable?
Based on your measurable, I think.
Yeah, based on the measurable. So
Yeah,
as long as
really
those
attainable.
numbers work, you know, if I say I'm gonna set 1 appointment a day and I need to set 500 appointments, well, there's only 365 days, it's not gonna happen, right? So I could work backwards and do that, okay? Another way you can see if it's attainable is, does somebody else you have seen, has anybody ever done it before? Okay, and that's not 100%, because can you do stuff that nobody's ever done before? Yeah, all the time. That's how new things are created. But that's a good measuring stick. If I say that I want to make, so we're in October, November, December, I want to close $50,000 by Christmas, is it possible? Okay?
Yeah, but
It might be difficult, but it is possible. I mean,
it's not in,
Has anyone ever done it?
sure.
Yeah, it's happened all the time, right? So then the question really comes at, is it relevant for you at this time? Is it attainable for you at this time? And do you think that's a good, smart goal for you to work towards? And everyone has to decide for themselves what that looks like. When I look at goals, I look at two things, okay? One is what I call core values. Okay, what is a core value?
it's to me something that's very foundational for you as one of your values, something.
Yeah, something that's super important to you that you base a lot of your decisions off of, right? Okay, core value. So what would be an example of a core value? Doesn't need to be your core value, but somebody's core value.
Not drinking,
Okay, not
drinking
drinking.
alcohol.
Okay, so not drinking. That could be a core value of yours. Honesty. Okay, that's a core value for some people. If they have family, sometimes family time is a core value. Things that are so important to you that no matter what, you don't like to break it. Okay, so if I set a goal that goes against my core value, okay, so I'm pulling against my core value, what is happening in this scenario? If I'm pulling this way and the core values are pulling this way, I'm doing a tug of war. What's going to eventually happen?
I don't think you'll meet your goal, just because it's polar opposite of what your core values are.
Yeah, so if I'm in a tug of war, that side's core values, this side's my goal. I'm super excited about my goal. I'm gonna work really hard. I might pull against my core value. I might pull away from my core value for a minute, but then deep down, I'm gonna be like, no, this is more important. And ultimately, that's going to win. It's gonna pull over. Okay, so an example would be, let's say that my goal is I'm gonna make $1 million next year. But one of my core values is I only want to work 3 days a week. Right? Okay? Is that going to happen based off of what we normally see? 3 days a week, couple of hours, I'm going to make $1 million next year. It's not. If I want to do that goal, then I'm going to have to, what we look at is sacrifice.
I always say goals like that, which are great, because I've watched people over the years, like in the industry, do it and reach crazy goals, but I also watch sometimes the price they pay.
Yeah.
For it. So and that's fine if they're fine with it, but then, like you said, if it goes against some of your core values, then you're sacrificing against some of those things. Just
Yeah.
depends on what you're willing to sacrifice.
Absolutely, and that's what I want to look at is in this industry we'll talk a lot about goals, and I want you to set your goals based off of what your values are and not base it off of, oh, this person's saying, in fact, we were in a room, Mike Ferry was coaching, he's a real estate coach for, I don't know, 40, 50 years now, he's an old guy, but he was in a room and he goes, okay, tell me your income goal for the year. And this person goes, 100,000, 200,000, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000. And we got to the point where everyone was saying 100,000. And it was almost to the point where the people who were saying, I actually would be just fine making 50,000, I'm too uncomfortable to tell the group that I just want to do 50,000 this year. I'm going to have to say 100,000. And we went through a ton of people, and it finally pointed out that we just kind of fall into that mode. So when I say, what's your goal? You might say, well, my goal is to wake up tomorrow and get into the office. And I'll be like, well, you know, is that, I mean, let's stretch a little bit more. And maybe you might need to stretch a little bit more, but you have to look at it and say, let me set my values. I know what my values are. We probably could sit in a room and list all of our core values. And I think some of them would be very similar, if not the exact same. But then if I said, let's order them is in importance. Number one important, number two and three, okay? All of us here would probably have a different order of importance based off of our experience, based off of what we're really shooting for, based off of things that are really important to you, okay? One of my core values, I love to be out in nature. I love to hike. Does anyone here not like to hike? Okay, you like to hike?
Yeah.
Okay, so we might have that on our list, but would you sacrifice time with your friends to go out and go hiking? Well, I might, but you might not. Because it might be for me, hiking and being out in the mountains by myself has a real calming effect for me. Like if I get really stressed out, my wife and I have this agreement when she says, she goes, you're really stressed out, go for a hike. Because for me, when I get out there, I can just completely reset and then come back and be a better person. Where somebody else might be like, I don't know why he goes out and does all this hiking stuff. You know, things are crazy at home.
I would just act stressed out so I could go on a hike.
Really stressed, I gotta go.
Yeah, but that's where I have to look at it and go, okay. Now, is there times in our lives where we have to go for a goal that ultimately it's going to be better for the core value? And that's where I look at sacrifice and the price paid. There's times where you might have to sacrifice some of the core values. Now, some of them you'll never sacrifice. Like for example, you know, you might say, you know, honesty is so important to me. I'm never gonna sacrifice that. The one I like to look at is, would you ever steal a car?
No.
No? Okay, so Carrie, you would never steal a car, right? Okay, would you say that's probably one of your core values?
Yeah.
That you wouldn't steal?
Right.
Okay, let's say that you're now up in the mountains,
Here comes the scenario.
okay? Ronnie's with you.
Oh, great.
Well, maybe,
I
He knows I'll steal a car.
and in this scenario, Ronnie gets hit by the bear
Oh,
and he's hurt. And you come down and you don't have keys, the car's not there, and there's a car sitting there that has keys in it. Would you steal that car to save his life?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, so.
I would hope.
I mean, it depends. I don't, no, I'm just kidding.
Somebody
That's
else.
Nicely.
The answer is yes.
Come on, Paul.
Okay, so there's times where we would go against those if the scenario was big enough. And so when I look at this and I go, okay, I'm not gonna go against my core values, but there might be a time where I might have to sacrifice or pay a price. But the only way I'll do that is if I believe they're temporary. Okay, that has to be temporary. If I say, like for example, I really like to be home in the evenings to have dinner with my kids. That's just important to me. And when I was selling real estate full time, not doing the leadership side that I'm doing now, but I was selling real estate, there was evenings that I would need to work, and there was early mornings that I would need to come in. And when my kids were really young, if I left early, I wouldn't see them, and if I came back late, I wouldn't see them that entire day. And so for me, it was like, I don't want to sacrifice that. But then I realized that in order for me to hit my goals, to have more time with them, I needed to take a certain amount of time in my life to get to that. I needed some momentum. And in real estate, 90 days, you can get enough momentum in this business to change your whole direction of your life. That's what's so exciting about this business is really intense focus on this business for 90 days. You're gonna get enough momentum that you can back it off, that you can do things the way you want to. But what happens is we go into this business and we think, well, I don't need to put the effort up front. I'm just gonna do here and there. It's the analogy of the train moving, okay? If a train stopped and you put a little block in front of the wheel, it won't move. But if that train's going 50 miles an hour, it's like a 12-foot thick cement wall. It can bust through and just keep going. It's the same thing with our business. Sometimes it takes a little more effort to get going, and then once it gets going, then we're in this position where we can keep that flow. Does that make sense? So I might have to sacrifice something temporarily and say, okay, my job is I want to be, stay home and I want to take care of kids and I want to travel and I want to do that. I might need to sacrifice temporarily to get that so that ultimately I can have that. If I don't believe it's temporary, I won't ever do it. And we have that tendency where I'll tell you, come in and prospect and talk to 30 people a day. And you'll come in and you'll prospect and you'll talk to 30 people and it will take you all day long and you'll be like, this is so hard. I cannot maintain this. Like, my life is just going crazy. In fact, it usually will. When you like commit to something, other things around you start to go crazy because you're like really focused on one thing. And if you pull back and be like, okay, I'm not gonna do that, now I gotta take care of these, then you'll never get that momentum. Okay, so that's what you have to believe that. But when you do 1 day of prospecting for 30 contacts, your brain says, I can't do this forever, so therefore I'm not gonna do it at all. Where I'm not saying you have to do it forever, I'm saying if you did 30 contacts a day, every day for 3 weeks, you would have business. Right now you would have business. You would have deals that are starting to work through that process. But what happens is we don't do the 3 weeks. We do 1 or 2 days and go, this is way too hard. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're doing that, is you've got to convince yourself that it's just temporary. Like, on the other side of this is better for me.
This you're hitting a perfect point for me, because I'm struggling with the motivation without seeing pay at the end of it. You know, like, there's no guaranteed line of pay, so it's hard to get up and like put your all into it type of thing. And that's just me personally, and I'm sure I'm not the only person.
No,
that feels
you're
that
not
way.
the only one. In fact, I
And
think
that's a big
very
struggle for me. I'll be straight up and honest about it. I'm struggling with that really bad, because it's hard to have that wake up in the morning and drive without, you don't know you're gonna get something for it. You may down the line, there's no guarantee. You may go 6 months and make no money and you just work your ass off.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so
that's true. And that's where this is where your brain is playing these tricks with
well,
you.
it is. It's absolutely, it's happening to me right now. It absolutely is happening.
No. And that's where we, for those situations, it's what can I do to help my brain to look at the temporary sacrifice is going to be worth it. Because if I don't work on that, then it doesn't matter what goal it is, it's pulling against here. In your scenario where it's like, I'm gonna put in all this effort and at the end of the rainbow, there's not gonna be a pot of gold. It's just, I'm gonna work and it's gonna be done. We're pulling back against these goals and we're not gonna get that momentum, okay? So once we've created this, now we gotta create a plan. And we're gonna actually spend the last half of this morning on the business plan. So we're not gonna go into the plan, but you create a plan to make this happen. And we'll do that towards the end, okay? And then we're gonna create a schedule, okay? People don't like to create schedules because when you first create a schedule, a lot of the thoughts are, it's restricting. I got into real estate because I don't want to be restricted. I don't want somebody telling me what to do, when to do it. That's a real driving force for it. And so we look at schedules as a restriction, but the more restriction we put into our schedule, the more flexibility we have. We get the results faster, we get more done. When we just kind of fly by the seat of our pants and say, hey, our schedule is, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, what typically happens if you just say, I don't have anything this morning and I'm gonna wake up? Like, do you usually get up super early or do you usually sleep in? If you don't have anything going on, there's no reason to get up.
Or you might lay there and be lazy. I'm sure.
Yeah, okay, it's why people look forward to like weekends. They're like, oh, I'm gonna sleep in until whenever tomorrow, right? It's because their schedule is open. But if you're looking to work a specific goal, now remember, we're talking about real estate, but this you can plug in with anything in your life. If I want better health, I'm gonna find a reason, a purpose for better health. I'm gonna set goals for my health. I'm gonna create a plan for my health. I'm gonna create a schedule to work my health, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so goals, plan, schedule. We wanna make sure that we're working, we have those. These two elements right here, I don't want you changing all the time. Okay, George teaches that once you have this set, at least work it for 90 days. Give it enough time to really see if that's something you wanna do. When I set a goal, the first thing that's gonna happen is I'm gonna have opposition against that goal, especially if it's a really good goal for me. The better the goal is for me, the more opposition you're gonna have. It's going to come against you because of all your thoughts and the way our brains work, it goes against them. So these right here, I don't really think we have to revisit as long as we get them right the first time. If we get them right the first time, we can continue to move forward. I would say at least 90 days. Okay? Don't change your goals for at least 90 days. I personally would say try not to change them at all. But if you are going down a path and you're like, yeah, this is not for me, then you've got to decide for yourself.
Well, and they say, it takes roughly 21 days to form a habit of like consistently doing the same thing. So the first 21 days, whatever you're doing is very difficult because you're in that mode of trying to create it to be a consistent habit. And that's usually where it gets blurry in those 3 weeks because our brains, like you're saying, want to push against it. And so once you hit that time frame, it's more so now consistent and a habit. I mean, you can train your brain to really do anything, but you have to follow that consistency.
Yeah.
In order to create it. So I think also something that goes with that is accountability, like goals and plan and schedule. I feel like I can do all of them, but there's something about when I have an accountability factor of some sort, because then, like for example, I'll give an example on the health aspect, but I did a training program for 16 weeks to do a show, like this bodybuilding show, like it was years ago, I did this right before 2020. And I thought, I don't know if I can do this, but I had to check in every week with photos. I mean, it would be noticeable if I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing that week and my coach would know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So it was like, I did it even sometimes when I didn't want to, just because I knew I had to check in. And they were gonna be able to tell.
Holding your feet.
Yeah, like you didn't do what I told you this week, because you could see very specific changes for that week and what week you were on, based on what you would change in my regimen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just moved into the next category.
Yeah,
Discipline and accountability. Okay, so this is the next step in our pyramid of saying, okay, I need discipline and I need accountability. Now, when I said these don't change, can your accountability change? It has to, all the time, because one week I might be really motivated in this arena. So when you were doing the bodybuilding, there's things you have to do on a daily basis, right? You have to eat right, you have to exercise a certain way, and there's probably
It's really rigid, like my schedule was really rigid, and I had to work out upwards of, by the end, it was almost 2.5 to 3 hours a day towards the last 3 weeks to 4 weeks of it.
So think about this, what you went through. You went through this whole plan, okay? You had a reason why you wanted to do it. It wasn't just you woke up and said, yeah, sure, I'll just do that. There was a reason there. Then you set the goal, I want to be in this show. You create a plan, you had a really strict schedule. Now we're into discipline and accountability, okay? When we really want something, we're very disciplined. And I kind of cringe when somebody says, I'm not disciplined. Because it's not a discipline problem that we have. It's a connection to your reasoning problem. The example that I would use is when you have little kids or when you're little, getting them to shower and brush their teeth on a daily basis is very, very difficult.
I feel like that still happens in high school, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's more of a boy thing, I feel like.
Could be.
On the shower thing, I feel it's more of a boy thing.
But yes, you're right.
Okay. It's one of those things where, let's just take brushing your teeth, okay? When they're little, it's like, did you brush your teeth? I tell my son, did you brush your teeth? And he goes, yes, I brushed my teeth. And I go, did you really brush your teeth? Yes, Dad, I brushed my teeth. So I'm gonna go fill the toothbrush, see if it's wet. I'm gonna brush my teeth.
Okay, fine, I'll go brush my teeth.
Yeah, fine, I'll go brush my teeth. It's like, I know you didn't brush your teeth.
Right,
It's, but once you get to a certain age and you realize that this is important and you don't wanna be smelly, you don't need the discipline anymore. You don't need somebody there to say, you need to do this. This is gonna happen for you, okay? When you mentioned for your challenge here, working, as soon as you get a couple deals under your belt,
Mine will change immediately.
your discipline of saying, I'm just gonna work and it will pay off, that's not gonna be a problem anymore. And it's the same thing for all of us. When we have a real strong reason to do something, there's nothing else that really matters. We don't need it. But sometimes we have to manufacture that discipline because it's not natural. And that's where accountability comes in.
that's what helps, I think, create the discipline.
Yeah.
At first, I think then discipline comes naturally once you see results. Cause once, in that case specifically, because it was physical results, just like making money or getting a deal, same aspect, then you're far more motivated. Cause you're like, oh, I am seeing results from this. Like that first month was crappy, like I didn't wanna do it. I was having a really hard time, but I was held accountable, so I had to. And then because that was forced, I was starting to see results. So then naturally, I wasn't even stressed by it, I just wanted to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because I was seeing results. So it's
And
just
that's,
no different.
that's
than
why
what
this
I'm saying.
changes.
Mhm.
This changes because right now I say, okay, accountability. I don't want accountability. I don't want somebody calling me and saying, why didn't you do this? Or we've had scenarios where if you don't make a certain amount of contacts, in fact, Aubrey Kelly, you know him, right? He's an agent in our office. And he set an accountability that he would be here at a certain time. And if he missed it, he had to eat a spoonful of cat food. And
I remember him saying that.
yeah, so he ended up eating a spoonful of cat food because he didn't do it. Now,
Yeah,
you can say, if I don't set these myself, if I don't set these goals, and if it's not something I really want to do, setting accountability is very, very painful and it's not something you're going to want to do because it's going to make you frustrated and you're going to get mad. I always say, if the accountability is set, you should never have to pay out on your accountability. That's what it's there for. So for me, there are certain accountabilities where if I say if I tell you I'm going to, if I don't do something, I'll take you to lunch. That accountability to me is, you know right away I'm not going to do what I told you I was going to do. And here's the reason. Because I know that I have to eat lunch and I don't mind paying for somebody's lunch if I'm going to eat lunch with them. So to me, it's not a penalty. It's not painful. It's not like, okay, yeah, I didn't make my calls yesterday, so let's go to lunch. That to me is not motivating. Where somebody, it might be really motivating. But if I put any money on it, for me, putting any money on something, I don't want to pay anybody any money. Okay, so there was an experience that I had earlier in my career with accountability. This is where it really solidified in my mind the importance of accountability. Was I didn't really want to door knock, but my success rate for door knocking was really high. It wasn't efficient for me. I could get on the phone and I could talk to 30 people, or I could go on knock doors and talk to 10. Like that was kind of my mindset with it. But I knew that every time I went out and knocked doors, I would get deals. And so this one week I decided I was going to do some door knocking. But I knew in my mind, my goal was to do door knocking. I had it in my schedule. I knew my disciplines were going to waver. So I set accountability that I'd pay $50 a day that I missed, and I had to do 20 contacts a day, so I could do 100 contacts for the week. $50 a day if I missed it. And we got all the way to Friday, and I had done it every single day. And it was Friday around 4 o'clock, and I had a client of mine call me up and they said, we really want to go see this condo out in Magna. Well, if you've ever driven from here to Magna at 4 to 4:30 in the afternoon, it's miserable and it's 45 minutes minimum to get out there. Well, I thought, okay, well, I'll go out there and show them, because this is a really good client, and they were ready to buy. And we get out there, we go in, we walk into the door, and the lady that's there, or my client, she goes, "This is it." I love it. This is the house that I want. Let's go write an offer. So we walk through the house and I go back out and I go get in the car and I sit down and I call the other agent and the agent goes, oh, sorry, that went under contract this morning. I just forgot to call you and cancel the appointment. Sorry about that. So you can see I was probably really excited about that conversation because now I had to get out of the car, go tell my client that not only did I waste my time driving out there, but I also wasted your time, got you excited, and it's not available. So I wasn't very happy. So I was driving home. It was like 6 o'clock on Friday, and I was driving down 5600 West, and I was just like, I am not going door knocking. Like, I'm just gonna pay him the $50. I don't really care. I was like real mad at that time, and it was Friday, I was ready to go home. And I kept driving down the street, and then I was like, that stupid $50 kept bugging me, because I don't like paying people. Like, I don't mind paying if it's getting service for it, but if I'm just lazy and that's why I didn't get it, I don't like paying. So finally I was just like, I'm just gonna pull over this neighborhood and I'm gonna knock this neighborhood real quick and be done. I don't even care about the results. Knock through the neighborhood, second to last door, lady says, yeah, we're interested, let me take your card. We'll call you, which is like, AKA, I'm not gonna call you again, please get off my porch, in my mind. Saturday, she calls and they say, hey, we need to sell a home and we need to buy a home, but we don't want to sell our home. We can buy before we sell. We just don't want to have the pressure of moving at the same time. I was like, okay, well, let's go look at homes. So Monday, we start looking at homes. We get a home under contract by Wednesday. And they're like, well, I think we're ready to put the house on the market. I put the home on the market Friday. We had like 7 offers that day on it and got it under contract. And 48 days later, I closed both of those at the same week and made, at that time, I think it was just over $18,000 for both of them. Okay? That $50 that I put here, if I would not have had the accountability, I would not have stopped. There's no way I would have stopped. If it was a lunch, I would not have stopped. In fact, if it was $25, I probably wouldn't have stopped either. 50 was that threshold for me where I actually stopped, and I did that. And then within just over a month from that time, I cashed the check that was just over $18,000 from that experience. So I came back to this accountability and I go, our dreams are more important than we realize. This is what we want. This is what I want to achieve. But our brain plays these stupid tricks on us over and over. It's not worth it. It's not gonna work for you. You can't do this. There's another path for you. Your brain will just keep going over and over and over. And what happens is I start getting distracted and then the results that I'm thinking about start happening. I'm not gonna succeed. I'm not gonna set an appointment. I'm not gonna do this. What happens? I don't succeed. I don't get appointments. All this problems happens. When I set accountability for my dreams, that makes it so that my disciplines are in action with it. And when my disciplines are there, my goals are hit, and ultimately my purpose is hit. And as you were saying with your system is you got more momentum, then this wasn't as necessary because you were doing this naturally. But for some of us, we have to keep going back to this accountability and saying, no, I need it. If I need to get back on track, the first thing I look at is not what are my disciplines, it's what disciplines am I not doing? Do I need to be accountable to be doing them? That's what I have to look at. And that's the only reason. And for accountability, I look at it as the carrot and the stick. Have anyone ever heard that story? Carrot and stick? There was a young man that was out in a field and he had a donkey. And they were plowing the field and the donkey was just stopped. And he couldn't get him to go. He was pulling him, he was pushing him, and he couldn't get it. And he walked over, he picked up a stick and he went over to hit the stick. And his dad grabbed his hand before he hit the donkey on the back and said, just watch this. And he picked up some carrots and he put it in front of the donkey. The donkey ate the carrots and then started moving. Some of us move better when we have an incentive in front of us. Some of us move better when we have a stick right behind us. Some things in our dreams, we can put a carrot in front of. We can say, the carrot, I'm excited about this. I want to do this vacation. Okay, so when my kids were younger, I really wanted, one of my core values is to know that I'm not home because I'm working for them. I'm helping them. I really wanted them to know this. And they were really young, so just saying, dad's at work to make sure you have food doesn't really connect with them. So I set a goal for myself that year. I wanted to take them on a Disney cruise. Well, around Christmas, you can put like $50 down on a cruise, and then you don't have to pay it until like 120 days before the actual trip. You pay a little bit more, and then 90 days you have to pay the rest of it, kind of thing. So I set a goal. I put the $50 down, and then told my kids. I gave them a picture of the Disney cruise boat, and I put that on their wall and said, "We're going to go." Hello. We're going to go on this cruise. And the reason is I'm going to be at work working to make sure this happens. So in my mind, that was what was doing it. Well, I had built in some accountability because when my daughter would look at it, she'd be like, yeah, we're going on a cruise in October, because that's when the cruise was. It was over a Halloween cruise in October. Do you think I hit that goal? Because my accountability was so strong, I had a carrot, but I also had the stick there where if I didn't do it, I'd disappoint my daughter, at least in my mind. I mean.
Well, but that's kind of a lot of what goes with my core values. I do what I do because I feel like so my kids can do what they're doing and what they love, and we joke, and I was telling Ronnie this, our kids cost like a gajillion dollars right now. They're just expensive, and they do these sports and competitive things, and we travel a lot for it, and it's a lot. And so I do what I do for that, but then my thing with the temporary is that I'm only willing to sacrifice a certain extent. So I'm doing this for them so they can do what they love, but I also don't want to do what I'm doing and then miss everything, because then that defeats the purpose.
It defeats the purpose.
Does that make sense? So it's like, I draw that line for me of how I get to that point, but I'm still working and doing what I'm supposed to do so they can do what they want. But I don't want to miss everything they're doing in trade-off for it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So like,
you're weighing the price you're gonna pay
yes,
in
so
order
it's
for it to do it.
determined like where that line is for me.
Yeah, and that's perfect, and that's where you have to look at it. That's where I say these don't really change. These next couple do change. Okay, the next one is mindset. Okay, most of what we do in sales is mindset. If we don't make a plan to do mindset, it's that those thoughts are gonna overpower us, okay? If you approach this business of, if I go to work today, I'm going to miss all of this stuff that my kids are doing, you're not gonna come into work, because the core value is making sure you're here with your kids. But if your thought is what you're doing here is providing them an opportunity that you're going to go and help them with, now all of a sudden their mindset gets stronger. So we have to have a plan that what we're listening to, what we're watching, what we're feeding our mind is what we're going to get. I always look at it as if I had an orange, okay, and I squeeze the orange really, really tight and juice came out of it. What's coming out of the juice or the orange? If I squeeze it, what's gonna come out?
The juice.
What kind of juice?
Orange juice.
Orange juice. Would it ever be apple juice? If I was squeezing an orange, would apple juice ever come out?
Yeah.
How? It wouldn't.
Jason's like, how? No.
Okay, so you squeeze it and it's gonna come out, right? I want you to think of yourself, whatever you feed inside of you, when you get squeezed, that's what's gonna come out of you. Okay, so if I'm putting negativity, I'm putting frustration, I'm putting all of that stuff in my head on a daily basis, and then life gets hard and I get squeezed really hard, what's coming out of me?
All the negative.
All the negativity, all the frustrations, all the stuff that I fed my mind with. So in real estate and in life, if you feed your mind with the good stuff, when life gets hard, which it will, unfortunately, it will get hard for you, you're going to get really squeezed tight. The stuff you put in you is going to come out of you. And when it comes out positive, your results are going to be positive. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There was something to that I found interesting, that there's a clinical study, and if you really think about it, when I heard it, it made so much sense to me. But when have we ever had to do trainings or mindset trainings to be negative. Ever.
Mhm.
Our brains naturally are wired to focus heavily. It's much easier to focus on the negative because it's more around us probably. So the funny part is that anything you go do for training or mindset is for what?
Yeah.
To be positive,
To be positive.
to train your brain because your brain naturally is not trained to that. So then you have to teach it what to focus on. So what you focus on grows. I
That's
say
the,
that
that's
to
the
my kids and
frustration
they get
part.
so annoyed, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like we all do it, I do it, it's hard not to focus on negative sometimes, but that's, yeah, that just goes along with what you're saying. I just thought that was interesting, like when have you ever sat in a seminar to learn how to be negative?
Yeah.
We don't have to learn how to do that, it's just there.
No, we don't have
Like
to learn.
it's super interesting,
Which is,
so.
it's so frustrating because it's
It
like
is.
goes back to your 21 days for a goal. It takes 21 days to create a good goal. It takes one to create a bad one.
So easy, yeah, it's so easy to be negative and just.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it's weird.
We bring this up here because this is something that I want you to be conscious of, is you have to, on a daily basis, put good things in your head if you want the good results. Whatever you put in the head is going to get your results. And if you keep putting, if you just allow it, like you were saying, if I just allow it, everything negative is gonna come to me. You can watch the news. You hardly ever see anything that's positive on there. Why? Because our brains gravitate to the negative, which means that creates more viewing, more ratings. They're gonna just go with all the negative. There's a lot of really good, like even right now, if you watch the news, our country is horrible. If you really walk around and meet people, there's great people around.
Yeah.
They're doing great things. Like people are doing great things all the time, but you don't see it because they don't advertise it. So that's our mindset. Once we have our mindset, we're gonna go into skill set. Okay, we're gonna learn skills. In your book, in this that you get when you first sign on, there's 12 essential real estate skills that's in here. Right here, by the foundation. 12 essential skills. These are the skills that we're gonna start building. Here's the interesting thing. When you look at the way that this happens, these next three right here are almost like a cycle, okay? When I learn a new skill, I'm not very good at that skill. When I'm not very good at it, my mindset goes the wrong direction because I'm not good at it. And when my mindset's bad, my disciplines are bad. Okay, so it's this cycle. Every time I want to learn a new skill, I'm going to go through this cycle. So then I have to go to disciplines, create some accountability, push myself through it, start succeeding at it, and then my mindset gets better in regards to it. Now I've learned that skill. Every time I come up with a new skill, I'm going to go through that process. Especially in real estate, because what I find is that most people are not, this is their first job they've ever done. Okay? Occasionally we get somebody who comes in, it's like, I've never had a job and now I want to do real estate. But most people have done that. So they come in here and they go, okay, I have these skill sets, but I'm learning to prospect. I'm learning to talk to people in a different way, in a sales way, and I'm going to help them, lead them through a process. And I'm not good at it. So I'm frustrated because I've had all this experience in my life and it's not paying off. But in reality, this is something we all kind of just work through. And if you realize, okay, it's a new skill, which means my mindset's not going to be in the right place, which means I need to work on my mindset and then create some accountability so that I'm doing it over and over and over. Even when I suck at it, I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to get on the phone and I'm not setting appointments every single week. I'm still gonna get on the phone, I'm gonna still prospect, I'm still gonna call because I know that the disciplines are gonna lead to me having success. Well, now you start setting appointments every single day, your mindset's stronger in appointments. But new agents come in and they're like, man, I talked to 500 people and I didn't get any appointments yet. Well,
But are you better at it?
but are you better at it?
Right.
And eventually you're gonna get to the point where, like we say this, is if anybody can do business in real estate, the question is, how many people do I need to talk to versus my skills? If my skills are really bad, the amount of people I have to talk to is significantly higher. If my skills get better, then they go down.
I just wanted to give my husband's example. He did summer sales when we first got married. It was a struggle. They call bageling is when you spend a whole day knocking doors and you get nowhere with people. So he had this little notebook where he'd keep track of things. It was like this tiny little pocketbook. And it was like bent because it went through Alabama sunshine and rain and all of it. In the very beginning, the only sales experience he had with knocking doors was being a missionary. In the very beginning, he bageled for a month straight. He would talk to over 100 people, get absolutely nowhere. Every single day, he would come home and be like, okay, let's role play. What did I do? Okay, what did it sound like? How do I overcome this objection? Every single day. He wasn't complaining. He wasn't saying I suck at this. Nothing. He was just like, okay, what do I do? I just need one person to let me in the house and let me talk to them. And that's what he would do every single day. And then in his 5th year, and he exponentially grew at least an extra 10 grand a year minimum. And the very, very last year, it was horrible. Texas kicked his butt, but he wouldn't come home and like cry or anything. He had this really big poster so that I could keep track and hold him accountable for his goals.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's why I feel like him and my dad, two are really, really big examples as far as like sales, mindset, discipline goes. Because I saw them doing it and their process through it. Obviously, it's different for each person on what feels better as far as mindset and accountability. But for my husband, it really was just like he set the goal, he drew it on the thing, how many sales he needed to get. And that would take us back to Brazil because that's where I'm from. So he's like, okay, if I hit this amount of sales, I'm taking you to Brazil. If I hit this amount of sales, I go camping with my friends. And that's, how he kept accountability of, how many sales he was getting, prospecting. And then also his mindset was, he just wouldn't complain, not out loud. If he did it within his head and he kept it to himself, out loud, it was, okay, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? Who do I need to talk to? And he would always go to a mentor or a friend or anybody that was doing better than him. That was his process. And I really look up to that with how he handled his bad days and his good days.
Yeah.
It was really good service.
It is going through this process is what he's doing, and that's great. And that's what I want you to understand with real estate is it's not always this exciting adventure where it's like, oh, I'm always closing and I'm always getting deals, and there's might be months or so that you have to revisit the mindset. It could be a mindset issue. It could be a discipline issue. So that's where I take this section here, these 3, that we're going constantly working through these on a daily basis. As our skills get better, then all of this stuff happens, okay? Then the last part is we're gonna have systems in place. Okay, systems are a really interesting thing because if you implement a system before that system is ready, it's going to drive your business down and it's gonna cost you a lot of money. If you implement a system in the right time, it saves you time and it saves you money. So let me give you an example. Brand new agent comes into the office and they say, I wanna get an assistant, okay? Great, an assistant is a system, having a system in place to do that. Well, if you have to train your assistant and you have to pay your assistant and you don't have any time to generate business, it's gonna cost you a lot of money and it's gonna cost you a lot of time. But if I get an agent who comes in and they're closing 4 transactions a month and they're really super busy and it's like, I don't have enough time to do 5 transactions a month, implementing an assistant is the right thing because it's gonna now save them time and they're gonna do 5, 10, 15 transactions a month because of that system. So that's a big system. The systems that we have now is, your CRM, your websites, your SOI, your prospecting systems. There's certain ones that I want you to start focusing on, but don't just focus on systems. So I put this in a whole separate category here of saying, work on this, and when there comes a point where you're like, I want to do more, but I don't have the bandwidth to do more, that's when we look for a system. That's when you approach us and say, what system does Century 21 have that I can implement to make my life easier? If you sit down with me, with Carrie, with Russ, anyone, and say, what does Century 21 offer? And I give you all of the systems, and you look at it and say, okay, I need to get my website up, I need to get my business cards, I need to get this, I need to get this. You are not going to do transactions for the next 60 to 90 days. You're not. Because you're gonna have so many systems that you want to improve on. And I hear it all the time. Well, I've got to get my social media because I wanna get deals made. I gotta get my website up, because what if I get deals there? I gotta get my presentation. All of those things are really great systems, but if you implement them at the very first, you won't get any business. Right now, as a brand new agent, how many are brand new agents? Are you guys, okay, brand new agents? If you don't focus on getting a deal under your belt right now, your website does not matter. Your social media does not matter. None of that is going to matter until you get a deal. One deal to go from start to finish, because once you got it completed, your mindset's gonna go up. We're gonna start implementing some of these systems. So there's ones that we'll teach. In fact, on Thursday, the SOI system, that's the number one system that I would focus on right now as a brand new agent. Getting your SOI system working. So Thursday afternoon, come and learn that one, because that's gonna be it. Okay, so this is the foundation for the company. What you're gonna find is anytime you come to a meeting, we're going to be talking about one of these 6 things. We don't deviate from these 6 things. Some days you're gonna come in, it's gonna be mindset. If we feel like the company is really low in their mindset, you'll probably hear mindset over and over and over. Once we get past that, we'll start working on skill set. Well, we know that when we work on skill set, then we still have to go back to mindset. And then we'll talk about disciplines. Towards October, November, and December, we focus a lot on this for next year. So you'll start hearing these in some of the trainings about goal setting and planning for next year, so that you guys are up and ready to go. But we usually take the last week between Christmas and New Year's, or the first week of January, and really hit goal setting and business planning on that. And then we'll implement systems as we need. Okay, any questions on that?
No, but I was gonna suggest a book, if you guys haven't read it before.
Yeah.
By Mel Robbins, I don't know, but
Which one?
Let Them.
The let them theory?
I think it's really good when in our industry prospect, because you're gonna deal with a lot of people in prospecting, no matter what aspect it is, it comes across like personal, right? When there's negativity or they reject, which is a lot of the time. And the book just teaches you how to basically let them think what they think about you, let them be annoyed, because they're just part of your day and they move on. And then the next one might not be like that. But it's just a way to keep your mind in check, of also to not focus on what everyone else thinks of you and how you're doing things, and it's just to let them think what they think.
Yeah.
And train your brain to just let them.
That's good, thanks
And
for
it's
that.
hard, because we all care what people think, right? Or
Or at
if
least
we're
we care what we
bothering
think.
someone, yeah, or at least we think we do, and so it's just a really good book to kind of teach yourself to just let them, because you're trying to control an uncontrollable. You can't control what people think, you can't control how they respond to you. So you just let them, like you just, and then go on to the next.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's hard, it's really hard.
Okay, so you can implement this with any area of your life, and I would suggest you go through this, like pick something you wanna do and run it through the foundation. You build the right foundation, everything else you can build on top of it. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're gonna transition into the business planning section. So we're gonna go into here. So if you need a break real quick, we can do that, but we're gonna go into business planning. We'll just take like a 5-minute break and